best readers out there know that you don't play fast and loose with the cards. The best readers understand that divination, psychic ability, sensitivity all come at a cost. I'm talking to one of those today. I'd like you to meet Bobby Fierro. He's somebody I admire immensely, and his tarot journey is going to fascinate you. This is Rebellious Fools, and welcome back. Welcome to my party. We're just getting started. Hello, darling.
Hello.
Welcome into my studio.
Oh, thank you.
Have you noticed I've even changed the colour of the banners in your honour? They're bright yellow.
I have. Thank you so much. It's a big thing, yellow communication with me. You know that.
Well, we can talk more about that as we go on. But I want to know about your journey with tarot. Because how long have we known each other now? Is it a couple of years?
About a year and a half, I think.
Year and a
Almost two
half?
years. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we bonded, well,
Tarot.
we bonded over one of my decks, didn't we? Because
Yes, we did. This one, the Healing Light Tarot, was the first one. Um, I, well, that came about because I started using it, loved the deck so much, and it just, no matter what reading I was doing professionally, somebody wanted to use that deck. Because I give people a choice, which deck which draws you, which one
mm,
speaks to you. And no matter what combination I put out, most of the time they were pulling this. So um, I wanted to know more about it. I decided to contact the deck creator himself just to do a fan letter type thing. And to my surprise, he wrote back and we
well,
struck up a friendship.
we
So,
also realised that we got on rather well, didn't we? So
yes, yes, a lot of similarities in our background. I love it.
uh, I want to know your backstory with the tarot because actually, well, we've talked about it, haven't we? But it's one of the reasons I wanted to sort of have you on this series because your journey with the tarot is kind of it's fascinating and perilous in equal amounts, which made me want to sort of maybe want to record it. So tell me how your tarot journey started.
My tarot journey started when I was a teenager.
Mm,
Um, I was lucky enough to have um, a high school in Claremont, California that had a special elective class called um, Unexplained Phenomena, I believe is what it was called. And basically, we'd sit there and watch scary movies all day and then talk about them.
wow.
But one of the modules in that class was tarot.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm in. And since I was raised by witches, my mom was a witch at the time, and my family, they're like, yeah, let's go get you a tarot deck. So,
Wow.
um, I went down and got it. And for the first few years, I realized I was good at it, but I was using it as a tool for popularity at that point still.
Mm,
It was a kitschy thing to do. Everybody's like, oh, you do tarot. So the actual using it for growth and development didn't happen until I was in my 20s.
yeah.
Um, I made some very interesting life choices that led me to some difficult places. I have health issues now. Um, Over the years, I have seriously struggled just to find the willpower to wake up in the day. Um, Sometimes it's so painful, I'm so sick, but through it all, tarot has been there to pull my brain back in and help me bring focus into my life and
Mm,
clarity. Um, when I was in my 20s, I I call it level one. Um, I went from level one to level two, and that's working in shops. Okay,
mm,
decided, oh, I'm going to be a tarot card reader. I didn't have any direction in my life at that time. And I started doing readings in local shops in California, and I was very talented at it, and my arrogance was extremely huge. And the gods saw fit to smack me down one day. Somebody came in for a reading,
Mhm.
and normally I would get the, oh, am I going to find love? You know, all the basic stuff. This
Yeah.
one says, my husband has been missing for 3 days. And I'm like, oh, she's going to ask me if he's having an affair. She said, I need to know if he's still alive or if he's dead. And I was like, what?
Well, I would be.
Right. So I
Yeah.
panicked a little bit and I was like, well, let's do this. And I was too young to say that's not a question I'm capable of answering or that I will answer. I was arrogant and I said, let's do it. And the cards that came up together, yes, I am a tarot card reader, but I am a psychic also.
Mhm.
I'm an empath, I'm a psychic. The cards that came up, one of them was the Ten of Swords. And no matter how I tried to look at it, it just kept going back to the same thing for me. And I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Take it how you will. Remember, I'm just some dude in the store. She says, just tell me. I said, I'm seeing him laying dead by a body of water. See this card, and I'm explaining the Ten of Swords to her. I mean, I was seeing it literally.
Mhm.
And she thanked me, she paid me, she left, and I told the owner, at least I'll never have to deal with her again. You know? Well, a couple days later, she came back in, and I'm like, oh, great, she's going to cuss me out. And she says, I just want to thank you. I said, for what? She says, my husband was found. He had been stabbed to death, and he was in the canal. Um, I said, well, thank
Mm.
you very much for telling me. And she left. I turned around, I looked at the store owner and I said, bye. And I grabbed my tarot cards and I walked out the door. And I walked away from it because I realized I didn't have what I needed to get by
Mm.
in doing this yet. I didn't have the life experience. I didn't have it. Put it that way. I was too young.
I think
I knew what I
anyone,
wanted to do. I
yeah,
knew what I wanted to do in time, but I also knew I wasn't there. I wanted to be at that thing. I think I wanted to be a Merlin at that age. I wanted to be the
I,
power behind the power. Yeah.
I don't think any of us are there at that age, are we? It's, you know, there was something that you mentioned which actually made me smile because it was exactly the same as me at school. I mean, I got my first deck when I was 13. And I realized very quickly that if I took that into school and the tarot cards came out at break, that made me very popular, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that, sometimes, it was always girls and they would always say, oh, they were kind of curious about having readings, but it was also just, oh, can I have a look at those? Because there was this kind of, I mean, certainly in the UK in the 80s, there was this mystique and almost fear around the cards.
Mm.
They were seen as something dangerous and forbidden. And for me, particularly, in a hardline right wing, orthodox, Plymouth Brethren Christian school,
Yeah.
it was one of my teachers who was on playground duty spotted the cards, and he was really lovely because he hated being at the school as much as we did. And he just looked at me and he said, you might want to put those away, son, just in case. You wouldn't want anyone else knowing that you've got those. In other words, if another teacher catches you with those, they will get confiscated and a letter will be sent home, and
Mm.
serious words will be had. But isn't it interesting? Because we both talked about something similar. You know,
It was,
even just the ownership of the tarot kind of bought us a little bit of popularity. And you all of a sudden you're somebody that people will look to for answers that they can't find.
building on that, it was a tool to see into people and call them out in public, which I
Yeah.
enjoyed doing because everybody
Mm.
wanted their friends around them when they were doing it. So if you were that bitch around me and I was able to tell people shit about you, I was going to,
Mm.
but that's the young, arrogant mindset that I was in. Um, I was not a good guy when I was young. I used my gifts and my talents to keep myself alive and to better myself.
Mm,
Um, Spirituality didn't come in until I was in my 20s. I had a very rough life. I became addicted to a lot of things, mainly fun and pleasure.
mm,
And in order to do that, there was a lot of drink and drug involved.
mm,
Um, but I reached a point in my life where I had a choice, either die or take a different path. And so I chose to live. I chose to change everything about me. And when I did, I was lost. I was freaking lost. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I
mm,
couldn't do this anymore. When I was younger, I'm 55 now. When I was in my 20s, I was a good looking little kid. Okay. I realized looking in the mirror one day, that's not going to be here for you got maybe another 5, 10 years. That's it.
That's a bit of a
So
shock when you realise that, isn't it? But it comes to us
it,
all. Yeah.
and I remember where I was at when I realized, oh my
Mm,
gosh, this isn't going to last. Um, so I broke out the cards again, just as something to focus on,
mm,
and it was the Rider-Waite Smith deck, everyone's go-to first deck.
mm.
Because at that point there wasn't a lot of decks available that I saw. It was always the Rider-Waite Smith deck or
There was
Tarot of
only
Witches.
there was only about, I mean, over in the UK, I don't know what it was like in the States, but there were probably about 6 decks available over here.
Yeah.
It was Waite Smith, Tower of the Witches, the Swiss One JJ. Uh, you could only get one Marseille deck, and that was the sort of Grimo Marseille,
Hmm.
which I still love for that reason, because that's how I see Marseille decks. You know, I remember the shop that I went into, they had this big deck in a white box
Hmm.
with black and red text on it on the front, which was way too pricey. And of course, I now understand that was the Thoth, which I didn't get until much later on. There was stuff like the Morgan Greer, I think, and the Aquarian, if you could find them, but there was so little in comparison to today, wasn't there?
It's funny because those are all the first decks I've wanted to get, the Morgan Crew, the Aquarian. Um,
Uh,
I I didn't understand tarot in the way it was meant to be understood. I
mm,
was a reader who tied it in with my psychic gifts.
yeah.
But once I was coming off of my former lifestyle, I needed something to focus on. So I threw myself into studying tarot, just books, something to focus on. And quite
Mm,
frankly, it was a long period of time that it was Oreos and reading. Okay, I was trying to gain weight because I weighed about 125 pounds. Um, I'm over 200 now, but at that point, I was bad, Chris.
mm,
It was really bad, and it was touchy on whether or not I was going to come through it. But the tarot helped me understand where I was. I decided to pick a significator card for myself at that point. And the one that I was using was the Hermit.
uh,
Um, so I just pulled back. Instead of looking outside the world, I started looking within myself. And I
mm,
used tarot to do that. I started seriously looking at the fool's journey from the fool all the way through the world. And I was just amazed that there was actually a story involved with tarot that relates in a way. And I felt stupid, to tell you the truth. I felt stupid. I'm thinking, how many years have I been just talking out of my ass, basically, and using my own intuition? But now I'm learning how to do this properly. So by the time I was 30, I was pretty proficient with it. And I went
mm,
back into doing shops. And this time I did it with a little um, humility. I did it as a servant rather than the oracle everybody comes to see. It taught me a great deal of humility and also helped my relationship with my deities. Um,
Yeah.
Rather than being the end, tarot became a tool to further myself.
Mm.
It became a tool that was incorporated into my spirituality. It wasn't my spirituality. Uh, um, I consider myself, I've worked with the goddess Hecate and I work with the god Hermes. Now, I know people think Hermes, all they think is the little guy in the flower logo and um, the dorky god in the movies and stuff. It's not like that at all. All right. Yes, he's the messenger god. Well, I work as a
Mm.
messenger. Okay, that is what I do. So I rely on Hecate to show me what's hidden, and I rely on Hermes to help me deliver that
To
message.
reveal. Yeah.
Okay. And this tool that I have in my hands has allowed me to help myself and have belief in myself. It's allowed me to help other people find clarity and belief in themselves.
Mm.
And quite frankly, it's kept me alive. Um,
Yeah.
it's kept me positive. It's kept me out of dangers. It's uh, it's not something I run to like, oh, I have a decision to make. Where's my cards? You know. However, if I am stuck and I truly can't see the pros and cons, I will break out the cards to help me see what I'm not seeing. Okay,
Mm.
to help me look at a situation in a different manner. And I think that's the thing a lot of people don't understand. It's there to help you see what's hidden. Okay, it'll help you understand.
But actually, it's interesting. Everything that you've said, it kind of, it's an important lesson. It, this is why your story fascinates me, because one of the reasons that I would feel safe coming to you as a reader is precisely for the fact that the humility that you have around the cards has been bought at quite a high price. You know, there are plenty of readers out there who never learn that lesson, and they are there for all the wrong reasons. Whereas that was a lesson you learned quite early on, but at the same time, it didn't come without cost, you know,
No.
both to you personally and actually probably to the people that you were reading for, which means that you approach the cards with respect and also with an appropriate sense of danger every time you pick the cards up, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, people deal, if people are coming to us for readings, it's probably because they are at a rough point in their life.
Mm.
Now, we have a mutual friend, Gerald Schwab, who always says, we are not professionals. If you need professional help, please seek professional
Yes.
help. Okay.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients that when they sit down with
Mm.
me, please be aware I am not a professional. I am not a trained psychiatrist. I am not a medical doctor. I am not this. What I am is a psychic with a set of cards to help you see what you're not
Mm.
seeing. What you do with that information is up to you. Please don't base your decisions on what I say, but do be aware of all of
I think
this.
I think what we can do with the cards, I think it can. I think at the very most, you can probably nudge people in certain directions, but you certainly can't give definitive answers, can you? You know, it's and I think what Gerald says is really important that is actually sort of coming into a reading with the correct expectations of what a tarot reader and the tarot deck can and can't give you.
Yeah.
Uh, and also, for me, it's that big myth that people come for a reading, maybe misguidedly thinking that the tarot can make the decisions for you, where to me it doesn't do that. It kind of
Right.
it mirrors everything back and hopefully mirrors it back a little bit clearer so that you can then go and make those decisions for yourself, or at least know when you're out of your depth and go and find the right help to help you make those decisions, you know,
You're
which
an
again is
artist.
mm,
I've seen your artwork. It's phenomenal. Um, when you're doing art, Tell me that you don't occasionally step back and look at it. Okay?
all the time, right
That's
through
what
the
tarot
process.
does.
Yeah,
It tells you step back, look at it
yeah.
from this angle. Okay. And exactly what you're saying. People think tarot's going to give you the answer.
Mm,
Okay. I've worked for those little online places where you buy credits and pay
yeah.
for whatever. I didn't do it very long. Um, my first night on, everybody came up, tell my fortune, tell my fortune, tell my future, tell my and I was like, it doesn't work. Wait, what? I was like, no. And I just, it wasn't for me because that's not my gig. I'm a healer. I
Mm,
use tarot for healing, both spiritually as a Heyoka empath and physically to keep myself in a positive frame of mind. I use
mm,
tarot to cleanse my chakras, to heal my physical body. I use it for meditation. I've studied the tree of life. I anything tarot related I study. Okay. I want to be able to pass on this information before I go. I need to be able to pass on this information
yeah.
before I go, just so that I know I did something proper in my life. Okay. I've had a lot of students, and I'm very proud of all of them. I've had students that surprised me, people I didn't think were going to last, who now are surprising me. That's all I can say. They surprise me.
Mm,
Um, I'm not a judgmental person, but if you're in my readings, I'm going to be honest with you. If I think that you're wrong or I see that you're wrong, I'm going to say, is it possible that this onus falls on you? I would use the word onus, but is it possible that this falls on you rather than them? Okay. A lot of people don't like that, but you came to me
that's
to show you what's hidden.
that's
Okay.
also. I mean, it's about tarot is ultimately. I mean, it kind of proves the point that tarot is ultimately about taking responsibility, isn't it? I mean, I think the most. I've only ever lost it once in a reading situation, and this was just through sheer exasperation. As a guy came to me and sat down. I was shuffling the cards, and you then, well, what are you bringing into the reading? What's important for you? And at that point, he just completely flung me off guard, and he just said, "What I really want to know is, am I going to win a large sum of money over the next 2 months?" And I just looked, and in the end, I just said, "Are you serious?" And I know I shouldn't, but when you kind of just think, surely the whole world has kind of moved past that attitude at this stage.
Right.
And kind of once I did compose myself, I said, "Look, the tarot is not going to tell you that, and I can't tell you that." And I said, maybe there are other questions that are a bit more important to be asking. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it just, that was kind of where
Tarot,
I came away from that reading and I thought, when you kind of think it really makes you reassess.
yes.
And ironically, said client actually went away quite satisfied with the reading, which is a relief considering I kind of wasn't exactly diplomatic with him. But yeah, for me, a good reading will give you clarity, but ultimately you will end up going away having to make the choices and choose the direction yourself. It's certainly
Absolutely.
not going to it's certainly not going to carry you, is it?
Now, tarot can be used to create and manifest.
Yeah.
If you're a magic worker, you
Mm.
can use tarot as a tool. Each card does have its meaning and creates a story, but you
Yes.
can line those stories up. You know this, you can line those stories up like comic
Hmm.
book panels to tell a certain thing, and then through a ritual and your magic, you can create and manifest that
Hmm.
reality. Um, I love doing that. I've done that a lot over the past couple of years, and the Healing Light Tarot is one of my favorite decks to do that with because when I do this, it's bringing healing into my life. Um, Healing is very important to me. It
Mm.
is extremely important, not just for myself, but to other people. I believe that positivity is like a virus. If you show positivity, that positivity can affect somebody else and in turn affect several other people.
Mm.
So I try to stay positive, but yes, there are moments when aspects of the gods come out in me that I don't like, but it's necessary. Um, I've
That's
had
good.
to
That's a good thing.
recently, well, I had somebody I had to come down on who crossed the line with one of
Mhm.
my clients. They shouldn't have said anything to them. And they weren't used to me reacting that way. And I mean, I literally could imagine myself pulling the earrings out like that. Be like, okay, let's do this. Um, I'm very protective of my clients
Mm.
because the people who see me are in a delicate way.
Mm.
And I know my limits. I'm not a psychiatrist. I told you that.
Yeah.
So if I've worked for somebody with for the past year or 2 years,
Mm.
and you come in and you're in your early 20s trying to show off and saying all this shit, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying shut up. Okay. This is not part of what I'm trying to work with them right now. You're confusing
Mm.
the issue. All right.
Yeah.
Plus, you weren't asked. If you're not asked, don't provide your insight.
Yeah.
Right. Um, Tarot has caused problems for me as well. There have been friends, other side of the family, my husband's side of the family, who are very extremely Christian, right wing,
Mm.
mega type peoples. Um, and they're convinced it's a tool of the devil. And blame that on the fact that it has the card of the devil on it. But I'm like, yeah, how many angels appear in the tarot also?
Yeah.
But you're choosing
Yeah.
one card, card number
See.
15 out of 78 to base your opinions on. No, that's a danger sign. That is not
Mm.
what the deck is dedicated to.
But that's down to preconceived ideas, superstition, and fear, isn't it? I mean, it always fascinates me that anyone who kind of condemns the tarot outright, invariably, my first question to them is, have you ever actually leafed through a tarot deck? And the answer to that will probably be no. Uh, but, and also, like you said, I mean, the irony is so much of the symbolism within the tarot is Christian, but there's also a lot of very uncomfortable things in the tarot deck that challenge, you know, that challenge the church. But you've sort of brought, oh, what's that? Oh, I know what that is.
This is Notoria in Light. It is
Yes.
a tarot deck focused on every card has an angelic association.
Mhm.
And in the Tree of Life, every sphere, every Sephiroth has an angel associated with it.
Yep.
However, there is balance. And in that, there are also demonic.
Yep.
That doesn't mean they're demons. It means there's the positive and negative aspects that need to be
Mm.
taken into account.
Yep.
But people take that and run with it. Um,
Yeah.
it,
But I
it
think
bothers
the tarot actually, deep down, I think a lot of people's fear of the tarot is that actually it's a very truthful tool. And my own experience of certainly the right wing evangelical church in the past is that it's actually founded on a lot of denial and a lot of dysfunction, and particularly with the tarot, because it is quite subversive and it has a knack of
me.
slapping you in the face with the truth. I think deep down, this is why a lot of a lot of people within sort of conservative religious environments fear the tarot. It's interesting because when you get into liberal religious environments where there's more openness to question, fear of tarot seems to diminish. Uh, you know,
Oddly enough, I would like to expand on that.
do
Yes, with the evangelical Christians, I do have a lot of them come to me on the QT. They come and they're
Really?
like, yes, I've got a lot of church people that come to me. I had to go out and buy angelic decks just so I had something that they felt comfortable working with.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, on the flip side of that, the people who are open with their spirituality tend to be the ones who are opinionated about other people's opinions more so. Um, I say this because I have several Facebook Heck Day groups that I belong to, and I
Mm.
happen to post something in there about a personal belief,
Yeah.
which I should have kept personal, and everything kind of went off the rails. Um, that doesn't mean I'm wrong or they're right. It just means that they felt comfortable enough
Mm.
to shove their opinion in my face. Um, people forget that just because we're all spiritual people, you still have to guard your words.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. Yeah.
it shook me. It just hurt my feelings more than anything, and that bothered me. The fact that I was shook, not the fact that it was a weird series of events, but luckily it
It's
all worked out.
it's really sad, and I think probably I'll draw a parallel with what the lessons that you learn over humility and the tarot, with going back into my own 20s when, I mean, obviously, most people know my story. I had a misguided religious conversion into the evangelical church when I was 18. Uh, I then got roped into the whole conversion therapy movement. It took me 12 years really to extricate myself, from the age of 26. I didn't really fully break free and come into my own until I was 38. And ironically, creating one of my decks was part of that. But I hark back to my 20s and a really amusing situation because I went back to university at 26 to do a theology degree, thinking that I was going to have a lovely, easy stroll through happy clappy Bible college. And of course, it wasn't. It was cold, hard, critical academic theology. So I spent 3 years getting painfully deconstructed, but also coming up against the brick wall of some incredible tutors who would challenge me. And it's when I think back to some of the awful black and white proclamations that I came out with and criticisms of other people because, their belief system and their worldview did not fit mine. And, it just, you sort of look back and you cringe. But
Yeah.
actually, again, I realize now that maybe that's why I value people's freedom to experience spirituality in their own way now, because it was bought at a hard cost, but also I bought that sense of other people's freedom through having made a lot of mistakes and having upset a lot of people in the process. Uh, I mean,
Do
one of the lovely things, the sheer irony, I'm still in touch with a couple of my college tutors on Facebook. When the Sun Tarot was published, it was a matter of humor between me and one of my tutors that this, toxically brainwashed 20 something evangelical who couldn't decide whether he had one foot out of the closet or one foot in the closet, scroll forward to like late 30s, early 40s, and he was, and there I am publishing, a tarot deck specifically for gay men, which said tutor was rather thrilled at. But again, it kind of, going back to your situation and, somebody sort of lashing out at your spiritual experience, I do find that incredibly sad for that
I
reason.
think if it had come from any other direction, I wouldn't have been shocked, surprised, taken off
Mm,
balance at all. Nothing. But because it came from within my own community, it
yeah.
shook me. Um, it only shook me briefly, but it shook me. The Do you know the phrase that helped me immensely with other people's opinions of me and what I do?
What's that?
When they start giving an opinion, I always say the same thing. How nice. well, I
Oh, I love
think
that.
this is that, and this I think this is evil, and I just look at him and say, well, how nice, and
Jo-
then
I,
I go on with
I,
life.
I love that word because it's the word I always dread hearing. You know, if I'm getting feedback, if I'm working on a project and I'm looking for feedback, it's
It's
like
not.
I know I've completely and utterly failed if somebody uses the word nice.
Yeah, when you say nice, it has connotations with it that are
It's got
irritating.
Queen of Swords energy, you know.
Yes, exactly. The Queen of Swords is the energy
It's like,
that
how nice now,
fuck
here's the
off
beheading,
energy.
you know.
Yeah. At this point in my life, I'm 55. Other people's views on me don't really matter. I'm
Mm,
the one that's going to be laying in that box at the end of my life, not you.
yeah.
Right? I'm the one that has to put my underwear on every day, not you. Um, it's tarot has been a tool that I have relied on to
Mm,
bring strength into my life. I wake up every day and I don't rely on the cards to tell me what to do throughout the day. But if I wake up in the morning and I pull a card and it's the Hanged Man, I might spend the day in contemplation of my emotions because the Hebrew letter associated with that is mem, means water. Um,
mm,
I might focus on my emotion. It's a tool throughout the day to give me guidance. This morning, and one of my favorite uh, decks of all time, I pulled the Secrets card
oh.
from my Oracle of the Hecate and Path deck. You might be familiar with it.
I've
It,
seen it once or twice, yeah.
good artist, good artist. He's kind of yeah, but it's a card of secrets. It tells me there might be something going on around me. Keep your eyes open. So it's just a heads up. It's not set in stone. It's just a hey, check it out, you know. And I tell people this on a side note when I'm doing tarot readings. I do work as an oracle. Um, I relay messages from the divine to my
Mm,
clients. Um, I had a direction I was going to go with that, but I have to remember that. I have to remember these are not my words.
yeah.
Please speak responsibly.
Mm.
It's dangerous what we do because
It's it's
people will take
perilous.
what we say.
Hence when I designed this, I kind of wanted to really show the peril of what we do, and hence the term "rebellious fool" for these interviews, because I think everything we do with tarot is it's potentially dangerous, but also potentially subversive. You know, it can tarot can unlock truth. Tarot can it can help people get past blocks in their life. It can help them to see the unseen. All of those things are potentially dangerous, particularly,
Yes.
if either we're in denial or society or environment around us is in denial or would want to keep us in denial. So I think you're
When
always
I
kind of,
say people come to us in dangerous situations, I've had
hmm,
over the years many, many women come to me in abusive situations that I've had
hmm,
to help them get out of. But I can't tell somebody, leave, you need to get out. I can tell somebody, this is happening in your life right now. Yes, I'm abused and he beats me. And this,
hmm,
these options are available to you, but it's up to you to decide what to do.
yeah,
Right. A lot of the times they don't do anything. They want to stay where they're at for one reason or
hmm,
another. Could be kids, could be this, could be that, security, I don't know. But there are times when I have helped people leave difficult situations and move into the next phase. It's serious work that we do, and I take it very, very seriously. When a new reader comes along, and this happened a couple years ago, I joined a local tarot group, and one of the guys in there decided he wanted to be a professional tarot reader. And the first reading I had from him, I was like, oh, ooh. um, okay, well, keep studying. And I was very polite. I didn't say what I was thinking, but I gave him tools. I gave him this. I gave him that. I gave
mm,
him instruction. I gave him this. I offered to teach him. I offered to work with him. But he was at the phase of his life where he was going through that arrogant portion.
mm,
And I told him, dude, when you're in, and he wanted to do psychic fairs. I said, when you're in that situation, it's different than one-on-one clients. It's rapid fire.
mm,
And he wouldn't listen. And one day he did a psychic fair, and that was the last time he did a fair. It just did not go in the direction he wanted or expected. It
yeah,
went in the direction I told him was going to happen.
mm.
Um,
In a way, all you were doing is passing on your wisdom because you were speaking from experience. And this is, I mean, I was just
yeah, I
thinking
went.
of something from in my my late 30s when I was kind of designing my first deck. And of course, that was a great excuse for going out and buying as many tarot decks as I wanted because, of course, I was researching. I can remember one of the publishers at the time had kind of put out this box set, Tarot for Teens. And I can remember just walking into the local bookshop as it was at the time, seeing it and just thinking, serious? Because all I could think of was like just the mayhem that I'd caused with tarot as a teenager and the potential mayhem I could have caused. And it's like, no, of course I would never have not wanted to have, I wouldn't, it wasn't a bad thing I had access to tarot at that stage. And it was a great thing for the course of the rest of my life. But at the same time, you're kind of reminded that there's all of those people coming up behind you that have still got those lessons to learn. And that,
Yeah,
you're not, it's like literally pick this up at your peril. Uh, and peril can mean great things, but it can also mean dangerous things as well. But
once you start the journey of tarot, you start off with the pretty pictures, but then
mm,
you've got numerology,
yeah,
astrology, runic, angelic,
mm,
demonic, tree of life, all these aspects of the tarot that are available to you to learn. That doesn't mean you have to learn them,
no,
but they are available. It's a deep,
not there.
deep well that I don't think people understand how deep that well goes in
Mm,
history. Um, the joy of tarot that it's brought to me is worth all the struggle I've gone through. The joy of being able to help somebody.
mm,
If I've had a bad week and I have clients the next day, I will spend that morning shaking off, getting ready, putting my life behind me and aside because my
mm.
life is not what they want right now. I need to be an open vessel. Okay. If I can help just one person that week, suddenly it's all worth it.
It's well worth it, isn't it? Yeah,
It is all worth it. It
that's
really
what
is.
it's what gives me meaning to carry on doing what I do. I mean, as a reader, but also just designing tarot decks because it's the one time as an artist where I feel like I've put something out there that really does make a difference. Uh, when you get feedback from people who are using your decks and you know that those cards are speaking to them, but they're also in turn speaking to other people through them.
Yeah.
And you think, well, if my artwork has gone out there and it's helped people to clarify their lives, or it's helped them to make decisions that have changed their lives for the better, then I've done some good, and
Yes.
that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Mhm.
But
I have a friend who we bonded over a Chris Butler deck.
mm,
And now he's a very good friend. His name is Ramon Moonscarab.
ah,
And he loves the Healing Light Tarot as much as I do.
oh,
And that's what started our friendship talking there.
mhm,
I am, for those who don't know, I am on YouTube. I do live readings and discussions. I interview people such as you're doing
Yeah.
now. Um, Shameless plug, insert
It's
here.
fine because it's saved me getting you to give the shameless plug because I was about to ask you. Because I also want to ask you about the future because you are actually heading more in a teaching direction at this stage as well, aren't you?
Yes, and anybody over the years who has stayed my friend is having a field day with this because I've always said I don't want to be a teacher when all along I've been teaching people. Um,
Mhm.
I shuffle when I get nervous. I'm like, um, I never wanted to be a teacher, but I seem to always have a student of some kind. I am launching a website for tarot to teach what isn't taught in the other tarot sites. I'm teaching the Hebrew aspects. I'm teaching the Tree of Life, the new, along with the new numerology and the
Mm.
pictorial guide. Um, if you're going to do this, have the information. Whether you use it or not is up to you, but you need to have it in an accessible manner. That's why the guy I'm working with, um, he's creating the website to where people can ingest it easily. And I actually like the direction he's going. For me, the first module is so basic that I was panicking, and he says, well, they're starting. That's like,
Yeah,
okay, I get that. Okay.
yeah.
Like, okay, fine, fine. So I'm having to slow myself down, and luckily he's doing that for me.
Mhm.
Um, I am also taking a job this week in a local shop where I'll be teaching more classes. It's just the one thing I didn't want to do, it seems that I'm being called to do.
Mhm.
Um, and part of me is in shock. The other part is like, this feels right,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, there's that. And then, like I say, I do have the YouTube channel. I enjoy doing live readings with other people. I
Mm.
love seeing the different definitions for the cards. I love seeing the backstory that people
Oh,
get from the meanings.
yeah.
Um, like if I said Seven of Swords, you're going to think one definition. It could be betrayal, it could be defeat. For me, when I see the Seven of Swords, there's a feeling of guilt that's associated with it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, he took the swords, but he might be feeling guilty, or the other people did something and they're feeling guilty and they had to give up their swords. There's that element. Each reader has their own set of extra that they put into the cards.
I have
And
to
I want
say,
to show people.
we've had fun doing sort of joint readings on YouTube, haven't we? I mean,
Yes, we have.
precise. I mean, one because it's always a laugh, but two, again, it's lovely when you are each giving your own reading of that card, and then all of a sudden, you hear the other perspectives, and you think, "Oh, I didn't see that."
Yeah,
And it for me, that's kind of really enriching because it then you take those experiences back into your own readings as well. So
I
yeah.
remember talking to you a couple of years back about the strength card, on
Mm.
how a lot of people always picture it from the view of the female in the card holding the lion's mouth shut, which is the traditional meaning. But for
Mm.
me, it takes that lion a great amount of strength not to rip that woman's face off. Okay.
Yeah.
It takes an
Yeah.
element of trust and strength there. So it's just where you're standing within the card, how you're viewing it. And I
Mm.
want people to know it's okay to have those extra viewpoints. Um, I've had young readers say, I know this card means this, but I always feel this. Well, then go with that because if
Absolutely.
that is what your spirit is telling you, that
Mm.
connection means to you. All right. And honestly, if you're going off script like that and you feel that strongly, you're a powerful reader. Okay. You're charging those cards, is what it's called.
Mm.
You're charging them with your intent. So just as long as you don't go too far astray with it.
Absolutely. On that note, darling, thank you so much for because it was quite funny because I said to you, come be interviewed on my channel. It's like, what? Why me? It's like, this is why. This is exactly what I wanted people to hear. And I'm just so glad that you did. But yeah, just to remind everyone, Bobby's YouTube channel, Bobby Fierro Tarot.
Robert Fierro Tarot.
Robert Fierro Tarot. Links are in the description below. Do visit Bobby's channel. You might from time to time see me popping up there as well. I just like creating a bit of anarchy when we do joint readings, particularly if we get other people like Ramon or Ken on as well. It's good fun, isn't it?
Oh,
So,
Gerald especially. That man cracks me up.
it's the sort of the waft. It's the sort of gale force wind as the fan wafts open.
Yes. You guys, please check out Tarot Stash. It is.
Oh yes, Tarot Stash YouTube channel. You will come away changed in the best possible
in
way.
the best possible way. Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me today, Chris.
It's a pleasure, love. Thank you for being here, and thanks for everyone who's been watching. We hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Rebellious Fools. Take care.
Cheers.